Hey, Xmen, this is Captain Yeet here with you for another Xmen 97 review. This is going to be Season 1, Episode 6, titled Life Death Part 2. So, let's get into it. And the beginning of the episode starts off with the opening. The opening added a few new scenes from the original series because they've been doing that every time. Storm is the one that does previously on X-Men. They also added Nightcrawler to the lineup, which is kind of cool. He's not in this episode, so I don't know why they added him in here. But it was still really cool to see him, but he wasn't in this episode at all. Anyway, the episode fully begins off with the CR Empire fighting off the Kree Empire in spaceships. Eventually, Lalandra's sister, Deathbird, crashes into one spaceship with Ronan and Accuser in it. Her and a ton of other people from the CR Empire just jump everybody inside of Ronan and Accuser's spaceship. They just take down everybody for pretty much ease. It was pretty easy for them to do that. Eventually, Deathbird tells Ronan just to give up, so C specifically tells him to give up because they have some of his men that they beat up, like off to the side, and C was like, we're gonna kill them if you don't just surrender. Besides, you should be grateful for me beating you because I need like a step stool to stand on when I pose for my statue. Oh, okay. That was pretty funny. I mean, that was a cold line, but that was pretty funny too. And then while she's talking to him, some guy comes in and tells her like, "Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but your sister is on the line." She kind of seems annoyed, but she goes, "Oh yeah, my sister. She's of the utmost importance. She's the queen after all. What is it?" He plays a hologram, and then we cut over to like the real life what's happening, like cause whatever she's doing, it's like being played on the hologram that the sister's watching. But we just cut instantly to where she is, so we don't just see a hologram talking. Anyway, she starts to bring up some stuff that happened in the original series. Now they've been saying Professor X is quote unquote dead. None of the X-Men has actually said he's dead, just like random people have said he's dead, or they either say he's just gone. In the original series, some guy shot him with this like beam that made his mutant powers like amplify and it was killing him, and human technology could not heal Professor X. So the CR Empire, these aliens had to take him in their alien spaceship out to space so they can use their technology because their technology is a lot more advanced than Earth technology. And up until now, he's been dormant. Now we can see him alive and well in this episode. I'm going to show you a really nice screen cap of Lalandra and Charles Xavier. C also mentions about how we've been healing him for the past few months. He should be better now. He's also the love of my life. So I want to announce we're getting married, a royal wedding, and also he's walking. Now you can see he's wearing a very different clothes than what he normally wears, and that's because he's wearing like a CR battle suit. This CR battlesuit allows him to walk. So, okay, that's pretty cool. Obviously, when he takes it off, he can't walk anymore. But here's Charles Xavier with Lalandra just posing for everybody because they're going to have a war wedding. Obviously, a lot of people are really shocked because, he's Terran. That's what they call humans. He's Terran, and a human marrying a CR isn't really common. No one really done that. Not really too hype about a Terran marrying into the royal family because, they think Earth is like lower life forms, so they don't really want that to happen. We cut over to Lalandra and Charles talking in like, it's like a garden. I was like, what are they even walking around? It's like a garden. While they're talking, Charles starts to bring up the idea of a honeymoon, and he also says that maybe we can pass by Earth and visit. And Lalandra kind of sees him trying, not trying to like trick her, but just trying to say like, hey, man, we could go to Earth for a honeymoon. Like just trying to bring up the idea so he can go back to see his X-Men. And she goes, I kind of see what you're doing. Please don't trick me. I know that you really want to see your X-Men again. You feel like you abandoned them, but I feel like Earth is going to be just like a black hole. It's going to suck you in. Basically saying, it's been like a year and some change since the last time he's seen the X-Men on Earth. So if he goes back now and sees everybody get so, attacked again, he's not going to want to leave and come back to the CR Empire. So she kind of knows that. So she goes, yeah, I don't know about Earth. Like, I don't really know about going back to Earth. That's going to seem pretty weird. This is what, actually, is this show it later? I don't know, but this is what her hair looks like, Lalandra, without her helmet on. It's just like a perfectly cubed. I mean, not cube, but like round, which is so funny. It's like perfectly round without a helmet on, which is so weird and funny at the same time. This is a pretty good shot of it. You see? It's like perfectly, like he's sort of round this without a helmet on, which I find so funny. That's like so weird to me. Anyway, after that, we cut over to Storm. And when we cut over to Storm, she's trying to heal Forge. We'll forget his name. She's trying to heal Forge because last episode... Oh, no, actually, not last episode. The episode before that, episode 4, he got bit by this demon bird called Adversary. And the same spot that the Adversary bit him on his shoulder is making like this purple bump spread around his body, and it has poison inside of it. And while Storm is trying to heal him with some medicine to drink, he just keeps spazzing around and sweating. It's like really hurting him pretty bad. And the Adversary keeps taunting Storm to let him die. Because apparently the Adversary is like this demon bird in the comics, and it feeds off of hate, misery, and despair. So the more hate, misery, despair, sadness that it feels around the area, the stronger it gets. So it's starting to get Storm to feel those emotions. Storm is like stone cold, not trying to listen to it, just like toning it out. But it keeps bringing up, like, hey, this guy is the one that made the collars to dampen mutant genes. Their collars are used to enslave mutants, your kind. He's a traitor. And that collar is the reason you lost your powers. And you're trying to help him? Why don't you let him die? Hey, how about you watch him die? Obviously, he's not trying to hear any of this. And it does have, like, supernatural powers, I guess, because right after that, it puts Storm inside of a coffin and closes it. And if you don't know Storm, she has claustrophobia. So obviously she starts like freaking out, trying to bang onto the wall. She starts freaking out, and she calms down because the more like emotions that you give it, the stronger it gets. So she's trying to calm down, but she's still freaking out a little bit because, well, she has claustrophobia, and it just trapped her inside of a coffin. And it's also bringing up the lines that she was saying back in episode 2 about how, you think this is a nightmare, but hey, you wanted this, right? Remember when you told Jean that you also had a tempting daydream to become human? This isn't like, this isn't death. You're not afraid of death. You're afraid of living. Like, it was some pretty cool lines, and like shape-shifting his face into all the other X-Men. Like, it was pretty cool. Eventually, Storm falls in the like basement area of Forge's house, and Forge gets up and he does magic. And man, I was wondering her reaction of this episode, because as soon as he got up and started chanting a spell to like teleport Adversary away from there, I was like, what? Like, my jaw was on the floor. I did not know he could do magic at all. He said that his mom knew like basic magic, and he used to teach him and his brother when they were little, and he retained some of that. That's how he was able to do magic. That's pretty wild. Like, in all the videos I've ever seen about this character named Forge, I've never seen anything about him using magic. He was just using it pretty coolly here to teleport Adversary away. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. I just want to show you guys. Yeah, that was pretty dope. Anyway, his like poison bump, it's getting worse, and it's starting to spread. If it gets to his heart, it's game over. He says that his mom heard of this cactus that has strong magical properties. It can cure just about anything, but it's like far left of his house, so he should probably go. Obviously, Storm is like, you are in no condition to go anywhere. But Forge really wants to go with her. So, okay, Storm will take him, but he's not going alone, obviously. Like, I'll take you there. You're not going alone, though. And the switch-up is so real. Like, because episode 4, she was not recuperating his feelings. Because he said she loved him. Wait, he said he loved her. And she wasn't recuperating the feelings. This episode, she goes, I can do this with you, my love. I was like, whoa, what? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only been like, I don't know, I'm gonna say like a day or two, maybe like 2 days max. It's been, so I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Maybe it's been like longer than that, but I would say at least 2 days max, and you just came around that quickly. That's pretty wild. After that, we cut over back to Charles Xavier and Londra, and one there in like this, not a royal palace, but the royal thrones to prepare to get married. A high councilman and her sister both come down, and they have a pretty big argument. This is what her sister looks like. I was waiting for this scene specifically because this is a way better shot than what she was shown off in. Not to say that she looked ugly when, you can't really see it too good. Oh, hey, there you go. I'm touching the lamp though. It's kind of hurting. Not to say that any shots of her were ugly when we first saw her in the beginning of the episode, but they just weren't like, just clearly focus, pinpoint on her like that. So I just want to sell that. Anyway, in this big conversation, basically, like I said, they don't want Charles Xavier to marry into the CR Empire. He's Terran. He is well, not an animal. He's born from primates, that they say. Her sister literally calls it the Milky Way Ghetto, which was so funny to me. That was pretty funny. I saw some people on Twitter laughing about that. I mean, that's pretty funny too. Obviously, they don't want the blood mixing and all this other stuff. Charles Xavier is trying to ease the situation, but the sister keeps twisting his words. So eventually, she calls for the law. I forget what it was called, but it was like Mala or something. Basically, like an ancient ritual rule that she calls upon. And that is for if somebody else outside of CR wants to marry into the family, they have to prove themselves worthy, well, trustworthy, to make sure they're not going to betray them or something. And the sister, since she's the one that ordered it, she gets to choose exactly how he has to prove himself. How's he going to prove himself? Well, he has to erase his memories of, well, not all his memories, just the memories of Earth and his X-Men. Obviously, everybody's like, whoa, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. But Charles Xavier, he accepts. He says that's cool. Then we get a really nice scene of him and Gladiator. Gladiator is like the ultimate like bodyguard in the CR Empire like army. And him and Gladiator are talking, looking at this statue. And it was kind of funny because when they're looking at it before they start talking, Charles Xavier, he starts to talk about how he thought the CR Empire hated art and they thought it was primitive and stupid and stuff like that. And Gladiator was standing next to him. He goes, yeah, most of the time. But this is specifically the foundation of a whole culture. These two empires coming together with love and forming the CR Empire. Like he started going over the whole history of the CR Empire. So that's why this specific statue art piece is sacred. But most of the time, yeah, art is pretty stupid to them. Art is pretty dumb to them. I mean, hey, in this case, it's fine. They get a really nice shot with them. I probably would have used this as a thumbnail if it wasn't for something that happened later on in the episode. But at the same time, I couldn't really use it as a thumbnail because you can't really see their faces too much. It's kind of, my goodness. I touched the lamp. It's kind of too bright in the background for you to see. And you're not really detailed, so they don't look really that good this shot when they're talking to each other. But while they're talking to each other, Charles Xavier says that he really sounds like an old friend of his, Magnus, and he would kind of like to have that memory of him. Anyway, Lilandra comes out and says that, if you don't do this, that means that you're going to prove my sister right, and she's going to take over the throne. And she's just as crazy as my brother. In the original series, well, obviously, Lilandra has a brother and sister. In the original series, the brother found this thing called a Unicron crystal that had this thing called the Phoenix inside of it, this primordial Phoenix bird inside of it that could eat up whole galaxies. They even said if you open up the crystal, it can consume galaxies. He wanted to use this crystal for himself to rule over everything. Multiple people told him it's unstable. This is like ancient godly power. If you even touch it, open it, it could destroy all of existence. He didn't care. He was still gunning for this thing for like a 3 to 4 part episode series. But it was like 4-part episodes. He was still gunning for this thing. Eventually, the X-Men had to team up with the CR, a big war, stuff happened, yada yada. But he was pretty crazy. And the sister's just about as crazy as him. So her leaving the CR, that's pretty bad. And Charles goes, well, you saved my life. You gave me a home here. You let me stay. You gave me ability to walk with this battle suit. You have proven your love to me time and time again. It's time that I prove my love to you. And then we cut back over the storm. I'm going to put the towel back on. There's nothing really so for the moment. Okay, so after that, we cut over the storm. And Storm and Forge eventually get over to a cave. While they're walking inside of a cave, they're just talking. Nothing really too big or significant besides from Storm telling him about, the whole Jean situation. How she said it was a tempting daydream. And so maybe she's better like this. And Forge is obviously convincing her that she's a goddess with or without her powers. But just because she lost her powers doesn't mean she's better like this or anything. And he starts coughing and he falls over. And he says that the only reason that he really came here with her is because, he wanted to go get the mushroom himself because he knows Storm hates tight spaces. And yeah, that's what a mushroom is. It's in this tiny little crack in the wall you have to crawl into to get it. That kind of sucks because he has, claustrophobia. We cut back over to Charles, and he's trying to do the ritual to wipe all of his mind of all of Earth. And when he does it, like the general, he goes, okay, do you renounce all your memories of Earth? He goes, yes. Every family member, every yada yada, it goes down the list, and he goes, yeah. Then he goes, do you renounce your Xmen? To wipe all memories of them. Charles doesn't say anything. They ask him again. Then the sister comes out and goes, see, look, this is why we can't trust them. So he gets going crazy. Orlando's like, look, you got to do this. The sister and Orlando start arguing, and eventually Orlando tries to fight her. Obviously, you're not supposed to be doing that right now. So she ordered Gladiator to take her in. Gladiator, like the top general or like soldier man. So he comes in hard. He jumps in front of Orlando because she's the queen, so he has to listen to her. Punches the sister. She goes flying into a column. I was like, geez, man, look at this. He hit her hard. He's like the Superman of the Marvel Universe. Him and Sentry. Jeez, look at that. That was pretty hard. Then he starts to fight off all of her guards because he has different guards than the regular ones. And I didn't know this, but he had laser eyes. He never used laser eyes in the original series. He just used his like brute strength that was like Superman level. See? Laser eyes. He used his brute strength that was like Superman level and his speed and everything. But I never remember him using laser eyes in the original series. I think the craziest thing he did was take a hit from Juggernaut, and grabbed his arm and just threw him like 50 miles that way. I think that's like the craziest thing he ever did. But other than that, I don't remember him using laser eyes. Anyway, a whole battle starts to ensue, and Charles, he falls down, and he remembers, wait, I forgot my greatest gift. My mind. So he psychically links everybody there into a classroom, and he goes, okay, class, it's now in session. And then we cut away. This is a pretty dope shot, though. I kind of like this. This was a pretty dope shot of him psychically linking everybody into a classroom so they can talk peacefully. And he's the ruler of the psychic domain, so you can't really be doing any crazy stuff up in there. With Charles Xavier putting it down. Pause. Pause. Anyway, after that, we cut over to Storm climbing into the crevice, and eventually she finds the mushroom, but she has to climb upward. So she's climbing upward, and she drops her flashlight. So now it's dark. Adversary comes back, starts taunting her about everything, basically what I said in the beginning of the episode, but even more. And then Adversary starts to make the walls close in on Storm. Storm, obviously, is not listening to this. She's starting to fight back, and I know if she starts to accept herself. Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna even say this kind of stuff right. Like when something like this deep happens, I hate when that happens because I don't remember every word by word, like the whole meaning and everything. I know I'm gonna get it wrong, but Storm basically says this is not a daydream. She knows that. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna just mess it up. I don't know if I'm just messing it up. But she goes, the executioner's gun didn't just dampen my powers. That was all a lie. And I believed it. And then the adversary starts talking to her. And then Storm starts talking back to her. While she's talking and pushing all the rocks off of her, because they starts to clump in on her, she starts to make wind. And then thunder starts to crack in her eyes and her arms a little bit. And she starts to talk to the adversary, just saying, you all are an echo of who I am. And then thunder and lightnings are going crazy outside. And eventually Storm reawakens her powers. In the coolest way ever, she reawakens her powers and she makes a huge thunderstorm happen. And it's so powerful that it shoots up into space, and we see a satellite looking at it. And eventually Storm shoots out into space, and she gets her common accurate suit that's black and her long hair back. I mean, the white suit that she had was common accurate too. She had a black version that was this and a white version. But now she has a black version that looks so dope in the show. And she has a long hair back. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I like this look for Storm. She looks good. Storm looks so good, man. This is so nice. I'm really glad they put this in the show. There was also another really cool scene where she's flying over like a river and she sees her reflection. I mean, that looked nice. Yeah, look at this. That was dope. Eventually, she's able to grab the mushroom, make it into an antidote, put it on the bump. It starts to swell down. Storm and Forge are starting to think about where they can go for a little retreat because all this stuff is pretty crazy. And Forge turns on the TV. As soon as he turns on the TV, we get that same broadcast that X-Men watched in last episode about everything that happened in Genosa. And obviously Storm and Forge are like horrified, like, oh my goodness. And we cut back over to Professor X. And Professor X is in the classroom with all of them. It was so funny because anytime he asks them a question about equality and stuff like that, he says they have to raise their hand. Because if they don't, he just instantly sits them back down into their chair and puts an apple in their mouth because he did that to the sister. She starts going crazy. He starts yelling. And then eventually he goes, oh, you didn't raise your hand. And then puts an apple in her mouth and instantly puts it back in the seat. But that was so funny. So basically he was saying that the CR Empire kind of are tyrants a little bit. And they go from planet to planet just, doing tyrant things and trying to seem like the savior of those planets. And he also brings up that coexistence is going to be messy, but eventually they can do it with a little bit of help. It's not going to be perfect because obviously on Earth, everything's not perfect. Even one guy brings it up, like on Earth, you guys fight each other all the time. Obviously, it's not too right. Before this does cut off, though, I do want to just get past the fact that, while Professor X is talking, he turns around and everybody are skeletons. And when at first the globe on his desk was spinning like crazy. And I was like, he doing that? But no, it turns pink fire and it explodes. And a gigantic Gambit shows up and the Gambit turns into a skeleton so that he died. And Professor X is like, what? No, what's happening? What's happening? And then the gigantic Gambit shoots out a beam, the same beam that was disintegrating everybody from the Sentinel from last episode, and it kills Professor X. And he wakes up in the real world. Everybody else wakes up out of the mind trance, like, whoa, what was that? And he realizes, like, yo, I need to go back to Earth. Lana says, if you do that now, we can't get married. The whole peace treaty, everything's going to be gone. He goes, I don't care. I'm not going to abandon my kind. I need to go back to my X-Men. After that, we cut over to Oliver Trask, the guy that makes the Sentinels. He's trying to run away from somebody in the darkness. And he says, he said, I already gave you my DNA to make a new master mode. Please stay away from me. And he goes, please, just kill me for what I did on Genosa. And he starts breaking down. And then we see somebody come out the shadows, and it's Mr. Sinister. So Mr. Sinister is the one that made that thing. Pretty wild. I guess he wants to get all the DNA. Because that's what he does. He kills mutants to get the DNA to make stuff. I don't know how you're going to get that many dead bodies off the island. Just him. No way he can be able to do that. Oh, even on the TV show, I forgot. They said that they're not allowing mutants from Genosa to go back to their homeland. Which I don't know why. That's pretty stupid. That's number one. Number two. Number three, Trask hates mutants. That's why he made the Sentinels to track them down and kill them and capture them and torture them. And now he's feeling bad for what he did on Genosa. I mean, Genosa's like a huge scale, so many dead people, like millions, It's a lot more than anything he ever did in the original series. I understand that. But he was still pretty bad in the original series. I don't know why he's crying now. Like, you still did a pretty bad thing. Yeah, Sinister kind of, not tricked him, but forced him to do this kind of level. But he was basically kind of doing that. And, yeah, that's the whole episode, right? Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's pretty wild. Okay, so now we know who made the Sentinel. So now we know who to kill. Last episode, I was so mad because of what happened. I was like, yo, we need to find out who made this thing and drop them hard. Now with Mr. Sinister, let's go, baby. We are going to beat the brakes off this dude. And hopefully Gambit can come back and Magneto. Mainly Gambit can come back, with time travel. Because we did say Cable. Hopefully they can do some time travel and bring him back. Because that was just sad. That whole episode, like the last good chunk of it, was so sad, dog. I was so sad. But this was the episode today. So, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. I thank you all for watching. I thank y'all for being wonderful human beings, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. All right.